There were so many points where we would feel like, are we doing enough? Oh my God, we should be doing more. Oh my God, are we on the right track? It would like eat us alive. And there were so many moments where we had to calm the ego mind down, because that's the ego. Our brand is to flow. So why would we not flow in the brand?
Yeah. Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of I Missed Me. I am extremely excited because today we are at Spotify recording with Ani and Nadine. Ani and Nadine are the hosts of InFlow podcast, and their podcast is for everyone who wants to elevate their energy and start manifesting the life they deserve and they've always wanted. Welcome to I Missed Me. I am so excited to have you guys here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
How are you guys feeling today?
Really good. We're really excited to be here. Thank you for having us. This is our first time in a cool studio like this. So
I'm excited because I've never interviewed two people, so it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to start off by asking you guys, how was the idea born? Because I have a frenemy relationship with having a business with a friend, so I want to know about it because I have a clothing brand and I started it like 3 years ago, and I started it with my best friend, who's my best friend now. But at the time, it just like a business and friendship did not work, and we stopped talking for a year.
Oh wow.
And yeah, now we're closer than ever. She's my sister. I love her with my heart. But I always admire people who have like a business and a friendship at the same time. So I kind of want to start off by knowing how did the idea start.
Right. So we basically, Nadine and I were best friends when we were kids. And then we drifted apart for a little while and then found our way back to each other. And when we started hanging out again in the last couple of years, we would work out together. That was kind of our main thing. And while we would warm up, we would have these incredible conversations. Like we would be in like the training room, like stretching, and we'd be like, oh my God, but then when you think about life like this, and then we would just get so in depth with so many concepts. Well, this was more recently in the last few years. Okay. And then we would sit there, and I remember Nadine one day was like, dude, I wish we had a camera on us. Like, I wish we had, like, we were recording our conversations. And I think from there we were like, imagine if we had a podcast, ha ha ha. And then we were kind of like, wait, why don't we have a podcast, you know?
Yeah.
And then we decided to get the equipment, and it was a whole thing.
It was all from there. And one of the most beautiful things about our relationship, like working with your best friend on a business, is that we're both not perfect, but we're both perfect for each other. Like we have such an amazing dynamic.
Yeah.
She is like the yin to my yang. Anything that she does, like she does in her best ability. Anything that I do in my best ability, and it just works. And it's not easy. It doesn't just happen like butter, but there are moments of growth within our friendship that we've had over the last year that I've had more than anyone else I've ever been with in my life, genuinely. Like the things that we teach each other in the midst of it all, I think the underlining thing about having a business with your best friend is that we respect each other more than anything.
Yeah.
And that is a boundary we'll never cross.
Exactly. And not to say that it's simple, because I think because we love each other so much that like when we have hardships being business partners, we come back to the common ground of like, we love each other. We're doing this because we love what we do. We're doing this to change the world. Like this is not as deep as sometimes it feels like it can be.
Yeah. Right.
But working with your best friend can be really hard. We hit many roadblocks along the way. But then when we kind of smooth it out and put our egos aside, because everyone has an ego, everyone allows their ego to get involved when you're building a business. And then the minute that we realize, oh, this is just our ego minds right now, like this is not our intuition, this is not our souls, then we come back and see each other face to face, like eye to eye. And from there, we always know what to do next.
Yeah.
And we do it really beautifully.
And I think it flows. It flows because you guys are both very woken. Like when there's two people with ego that don't know it is ego, it's going to clash. But like, maybe you have like an argument and you're like, okay, I'm talking with ego. I'm going to have my space and then we're going to have a conversation.
Exactly.
It's really good that you're guys like both aware of it. And it's not something that we had. Also, we were 17. So based on your answers, like you did mention growth. How do you think that you guys, like your individual growth has been translated in the friendship, and how has the friendship changed? And I guess you can answer for Nadine and you can Nadine, Ani and
Yeah.
Nadine. And you can answer for Nadine and you can answer for Ani. Like, how
Right.
have you seen both individually grow, and how has that influenced the friendship?
Wow.
Totally.
That's such an incredible question. I feel like I've seen Ani grow. She's already been such a confident woman, regardless. But when we were younger, of course, in our high school years, like there can be a little bit more insecurities. But as she's gotten older, she's taught me so much about confidence and being, you know, the best that I could be, and showing up and not being afraid of anything, and especially to use my voice. And she does that so well. She does it so elegantly.
So sweet.
And yeah, she's just taught me so much about communication too. Like her ability to communicate what she needs and how she feels is been honestly one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in a person. And yeah, I just feel like she's grown so much in both those ways. She's grown so much individually in her own life with her own music, and that's been really beautiful to see. She's incredible. She's incredibly talented in anything that she puts her mind to. And just being able to see that, honestly, as her best friend and as a kid, like sometimes I look at her and I'm like, honey, you were just a baby. Like we were just babies. And I don't know. She's my sister, my soul sister.
No, don't make me cry right now.
And she's just, I don't know, she's the cutest. And honestly, she's killing it. Like this woman is going places far
my
beyond the podcast
gosh.
studio. Far beyond.
Wow, Nadine. My little heart is not going to be okay after that. Wow. Yeah, that. And always, like, another thing I want to say about our friendship and why it works so well to be in business together is because our hearts are always so open. When, like, we do this type of stuff all the time. We, like, share how much we love each other and how grateful we are to be doing this together all the time. But I think the biggest thing that I've seen growth in is that confidence. I remember in the beginning when we first started the podcast, we had, like, before anyone was listening to it, I remember telling Nadine, we were like having a moment, and it was like we're kind of in a little fight. And then once the storm settled, I was like, Nadine, our podcast is going to blow up. I need you to get ready. I'm like, if you can't handle this, you need to figure it out.
Yeah,
you need to figure out how to be okay with your name being places, because it's going to be. And then, like, I remember that we kind of had a pact. We're like, okay, it's happening. We're doing it. And then I think it was literally like 3-4 days later, that's when we had the giant blow up situation happen. And
How
it was
did that?
like,
How was your kind of story with the
right.
podcast?
So basically, we were posting, I think, like 2 or 3 times a day when we started. And in the first month, we were kind of like secretive about our podcast. So we didn't really tell anybody about it because we're a little like nervous, you know, a little embarrassed, you know. You know, it's the beginning.
Right.
So I think we got like 50 downloads or something in the first month. And then the second month, we went from 50 to like 50,000.
Wow.
In the first 30 days. And it was
Because
like
of posting on social media.
Yeah.
Because
it was one
Consistency was
video
everything.
on TikTok that like just went insane. And that, I think we had like 100 followers on TikTok, and we went to 10K in that one day.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But the reason why it happened, truthfully, is because at that time, Nadine and I were on our way to Vegas for a work trip, and we were like so inconvenienced by this trip, but we were like, let's have so much fun though. Let's be so grateful. And we're singing into music in the car, and we're holding hands, and we're like, we're so grateful to be alive. Like here we are, and we're healthy and all this stuff. And we were like chanting our love for life.
Yeah.
And then we looked on our phone just really quick, and all of this thing was happening while we were just feeling so happy to be alive. And I remember we looked at each other and we started screaming.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yeah, we can hold it together.
yeah.
See, that's the thing, is that me and Ani have been business partners and working together even before the podcast. I mean, before that, people don't even know our history. We also did real estate together for the longest time too. So that took a lot of grit and you know, being together. So
And when we were we were in real estate, and we would come early to work and film and set up the entire office as a podcast studio and film 2 episodes and then set it all back and then do our 9 to 5. And we would do that all the time. And we would say in the podcast, we're like, you know, we're doing this podcast on the side. Like, all we want is to quit real estate and do this full time. Like, that's our biggest dream.
Yeah.
And we would always say, like, you guys are going to watch us do that. And then we did it. And then we did it. And we quit real estate. And now we just
That's
do
so
the
cute.
podcast full time. And all of our followers and like listeners literally watched us say, we're going to do this, and you're going to do it with us, and you're going to watch it happen. And then it happened.
Yeah.
And I understand it in such a deep level. Like, people that haven't gone through it with their best friends don't understand it, but like that, it's a different type of joy when you get to experience those type of like blow ups with your best friend. Like I remember our clothing brand, we started in 2020. And we posted a video on TikTok. It got like 3 million views. And that night we got like 700 orders of hoodies. And like, it was something that we got to experience together. And it's like, I could tell you and you could feel happy for me, but like to get it to like, I get
Together
chills just to like to think about it because I just know what you went through and it's just like another level of happiness. I want to talk about how, okay, you mentioned the power of gratitude. And obviously, I mean, I understand it. You guys understand it more than anyone, but the power of gratitude, and I know that the reason why you were experiencing that blow up type of, you know, experience was because of how much gratitude you were feeling, and then everything just starts happening like, you know, for you. Can you kind of explain a little bit of like what has the role gratitude has played in your lives? When do you discover the importance of gratitude and everything behind it?
Absolutely. I think one of the most special things that happens in your life is when your heart is open and when you're genuinely just grateful, because that is the currency of the universe. It genuinely is. It's the only way that you can pay the universe with something and it will give you something back. And when we're not grateful, we're closed off in some way. It's like we can't, it's like a shield of the world. Like you cannot see, you have these glasses on, but like the second that you just feel grateful about one thing,
You take them off.
you take them off and you're grateful about a million other things. And then they'll start to ripple and affect. And maybe you won't see instances where something happens right away, but you'll see the effect of it very soon. And you can see the effect of it instantly when you feel like your heart constantly open and you get to remove that shield, because that's the biggest service that you could do to yourself. Is because who wants to walk around with a closed heart and not having gratitude for something? Even the people who have the least amount of stuff have the most gratitude. And at the end of the day, like that's what life should be about, is just walking around proud of who you are, proud of what's coming in the future. Because there's no point of closing that off. It's a channel that you get to receive information through. It's a channel that you get to receive blessings through. Like, so yeah, that's my idea of gratitude.
Yeah. And it also can feel like a faucet, you know, like some people don't know how to turn it on and they're like, why is there no water coming out of my faucet? But like the minute that you, like you said, you're grateful for one thing, or you really truly have one moment of like pure gratitude, like you turn it on and the water just starts flowing. And that's why you find gratitude for just being healthy, and you wake up with love in your heart, and then you're like, wow, I just got this thing happen to me for free. This opportunity just came, and like everything just paves the way for you, because a lot of people don't understand that the reason why they're stuck is because they're putting themselves in a box. You're choosing to stay capped in this position because you don't want to see anything above what you have in front of your face. But how about we don't try to look above, we don't try to look into the future, but how about we see what we have, but we just look at it a little bit differently? Like, oh, I hate my job. How about I'm so grateful that I have a job that pays for my life that I live.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't think you could have explained it any better. And like, I feel like people have a hard time being grateful because they don't understand what gratitude is. And it really is the currency of the universe. Like here you pay people with favors, you pay people with money, but like the universe gives you things, and how do you pay it back? You don't even have to, you just have to be grateful.
Right.
And you just explained it in such a beautiful way. I want to talk about how underrated friendships are, because on my podcast, I talk about breakups and I talk about relationships and heartbreak, but your friends can break your heart. Like
Harder.
Friendship breakups can be even
Those
like
hurt
more painful. What has been like, how has your friendship changed your life? And how can people acknowledge when it's time to let go and like cut a friendship off?
Yes.
so good.
Take it away, Penny.
I think the biggest sign for me when it's time to let go of a friend is when you feel like you need to hide your wins from them. That's something that I experienced a
100%.
lot with my other friends is, you know, when I was finding success in other parts of my life, the podcast, or like when I was in real estate, I couldn't explain it to them. I couldn't talk about it because it was like there was something in the air about it. And
Even if you want to, you know, like you just have to like shut yourself up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even if you do, they kind of make it seem like you just instantly get a feeling where you're like, I don't know if this is.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one thing. And also too, I also think that like being aware of where your vibration lives on the spectrum is so important. Like I know that the reason why Nadine and I are able to spend so much time together is because we live on the same plane. We live in the same frequency. And if I try to spend time with somebody else who is not a bad friend to me, is a great person, but lives maybe in a lower frequency, I can't as long or as much because this is my natural state of being. So I only want to spend my time with people that also live in this natural state, or even people that maybe are in a higher state than me, which is valuable as well, because then it makes you more comfortable in a higher place. But I think that friendships are really painful to lose. Absolutely. But if you ask me, I'd rather have one or two incredible friends than a bunch of friends that really don't mean much, you know?
Absolutely.
100%.
I think it's interesting because even when me and Ani get in our little fights and arguments, of course, which is totally normal, we can't go more than 5 minutes off the phone without calling each other back. Like, I can't do this. I can't go on with the rest of my day without talking to you.
It ruins our day.
It's hard.
Same.
I can't deal with it.
I talk with my best friend 24/7, and then like when I like have my phone on do not disturb when I like have to, you know, be here, but I know she's texting me all the time, or we're like FaceTiming, and I know I can FaceTime her without her being tired of me, and she knows the same thing. And I feel like that is how you recognize like such a healthy friendship, is just like, I don't know, that understanding of both parts of like, I'm not annoying you and you're not annoying me, and we don't have to tell each other that, but we both know, and like it's genuine.
Yes. Your best friend should absolutely be the only, like one of the only people that you're allowed to fully be yourself with. Like there is not one joke that I'll hold back with Ani. There is not one weird ass thing that I will do that I will not hold back. With Ani. Like I just get crazy with her.
She won't judge you. She would exactly, and that's how you know to keep a friendship. And I always tell people like the same thing. Like it is so much better to have like one good friend that you know that you can count on whenever, like 24/7, than to have a friend group that you only go out with or like see at school. And like I always say that the way of recognizing if a person should be with you is if they're either supporting your growth or inspiring you to grow. Like those are the only two people that you should keep in your life. And if they're not doing any of those two, then you have to let them go. Because why would you want that? So
exactly.
For people listening, what was, as beautiful as this friendship sounds, what are the hardest parts of managing a business and a friendship at the same time? Which are not like hard. Which are not like not
I don't know.
hard things too. She's like,
I just knew exactly what to say. I'm just like, you're gonna love this one.
They're lessons. Like at the end of the day, like you grow from everything that you know you have trouble with, and it's not to like cause a fight or anything. It's just like, oh, these are things that we have to work on. But
of course,
I would say the main thing is like we're working on it still, but like it almost, there was a point where we lost the let's hang out and do nothing. Because every time we would hang out, we were doing something work related.
I'm so glad you said that.
And that, I mean, we make it so fun. So when we're on work meetings, like we're goofing around and having so much fun regardless.
And it's such a fun job too.
Exactly. So it's like we're still hanging out, but there's something different about filming with your friend and then being like, okay, see you next time, like see you later, or doing a work meeting versus like, let's go to the beach and not film anything. Like let's go do this and not think about.
Let's talk about boys. Like let's talk about something not related to.
We do that enough.
We do that.
Even on the podcast. Okay.
So I would say probably that. That's one thing that has been difficult, that we're like, oh, okay, well, we have to make time for just our friendship too.
And it's so sweet how often we're like, we would just have a business meeting for 3 hours, and then we'll call each other by the end of the day and be like, I miss you, you know, because it's the genuine heart to heart that we miss, you know. It's not our physical beings, but it's because, you know, we get to be friends. And just enjoy
really
each other
like
and be kids. Like the other day I was like, Ani, when was the last time we had like a sleepover? And she was like, we're grown adults. I was like, I don't know, I want one.
And what about it?
I'm like, we still have one, dude. Like we're just a little taller these days. So we're still kids.
Not. We're the same. We did not grow.
Right. We're the same size.
That's so cute. When has been a time where you guys like together, like podcast related or maybe real estate or maybe in another aspect of your life, that you both have to like flow, like just like trust or surrender together and be like, listen, we can't do anything about it, let's just flow?
Definitely in our real estate world. There was a moment, and I'll never forget this moment, where we were just so tired. So tired because we had been producing a podcast episode once a week. We were batch filming, and then we would go and drive from place to sell real estate homes. And honestly, truthfully, the money wasn't coming in, and we were surviving off of nothing. We had nothing. We were just surviving off of faith, steadfastness, and just doing our best to feel gratitude and creating the doors that were opening. But honestly, in that time, I cannot tell you how grateful I am for those moments because it really taught us the foundation of what it means to flow. It really taught us the foundation of what it means to trust. And if we don't have that, we don't have anything ever. So that's what I would.
And I'll never forget when we got our podcast equipment, because we sat and thought about it for so long because we didn't have the money for it. We were like working so many hours, and real estate's the type of job that's commission based. So like you can work for 6 months and make nothing, but then make an entire 6 months worth in 1 month. Like it's like very inconsistent. And at that point, it was like in the height of COVID. So it was like the housing market was doing a bunch of things.
Right.
Anyway, we were like, didn't have the money to invest in podcasts, and we didn't have like parents to help us or like anything like that. So I remember we were just like, this is an investment, this is a risk, but we'll never know if we don't try. And this is where like flow was at the height of our life. We kept saying, let's just flow. Let's just flow. If we're meant to do it, it'll happen. And I remember one day we just felt it in our hearts. We're like, it's time.
And we're scrapping like the bottom of the bowl just to get enough.
Do we put it on a credit card?
Oh,
like,
is that what we did?
Yeah.
Perfect.
and we put it on a credit card, and we got the equipment, and we got like the cheapest equipment we could find. And that equipment got us all the way here. Yeah. And we just upgraded like a few weeks ago, which is so insane to think about. Thank you. I know. It was like, it was such a big moment. We're like, wow, we did it, you know? We made it worth it. Yeah. So I would say that. And we got InFlow tatted on us. Like that's like the thing in our life.
Don't stare at it too long because it really flows away.
Yeah, and it's InFlow. That's the one thing about it. It wasn't done.
It's flowing away.
It really is. Like, they really did us dirty.
When did you get it done?
A couple months ago.
Yeah, I think when we launched our app, it was kind of like our big celebratory
You have an
thing.
app. Talk to me about that.
Yeah,
it's called a Flowy app, and we decided to do it as in a 6-month increment, so it would be like an ascension of every area of your life. So we've been doing challenges and 30-day challenges, and we have a huge, really strong, beautiful community that just helps each other and motivates each other.
The most beautiful thing we've ever done.
Yeah. And people are constantly posting their pictures and improving their pictures.
That's so beautiful.
Keeping each other accountable and getting access to things that people wouldn't really get access to for free that, we put out.
And I feel like that's the most beautiful thing about our job is like, when you're talking to a microphone, you don't really see who's listening or if anybody is even listening. But when you actually get to see like someone saying, thank you, you helped me, it's like, wow, you know,
those
like
really
it's like the
messages.
tangible of,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And it also gave us an ability to like put all of our talents into one place. Like I was a personal trainer for so long, and Nadine's a certified yoga instructor. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we get to utilize our skills. And so we made fitness like programs in our app, and yoga flows and meditations and affirmation videos, and all of these challenges, like she was saying, are like so tailored. We have finance challenges in there. We have fitness challenges, nutrition challenges, like anything you can think of. We wanted a one-stop shop of an app that like, if you just want to improve in your life and you just need one thing, it's this. Because that didn't exist yet. There's not an app that's like, we're going to help you build your bag, build your body,
mind, and spirit.
Body, mind, and soul. Where can you get that in just one place?
Wow.
And so we created it. And oh my God, I just remember when the idea flew in, and it was like, the way I see ideas is you're gifted these inspired action, like the ability to take inspired action. And it's like, you're given the ability to be the creator of this thing. And if you take action, then it will be yours. And if you choose not to, then we'll take it and give it to somebody else who will make it happen. And so anytime we get a creative idea, we're like, thank you. We feel so much gratitude. Thank you, God, for giving us this idea, because now we get to be the ones who create it. And we always do. We always take action. We always make it happen. And I think that's another reason why the channel is so open for us, because we receive and we take action with so much gratitude.
And it's just, little tiny small steps. Like when you think about building an app, it's kind of a daunting experience. You know what I mean? To think about going all in and, how do you start?
It sounds like something so like not for me,
but
like something unreachable.
It's just the universe just wants you to take one step forward and it will pull you a mile with it.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That's all it wants. And, you know, okay, it's just this one task and then just this one other task. And then, oh, this app came to us. Oh, this people want to help us. Oh, we have the doors open. Like, you know, it's just so interesting to see that when you see something as yours and it's coming to fruition and it's your time and you just take one little micro step,
and everything starts happening like
For
so
you.
aligned.
Yeah.
And that's another place where flow comes into our lives with our business is like, I think anybody who's running a business in their early 20s can agree, and I'm sure you can agree with this. Sometimes it's like, we don't have the experience of running a business. Like, this is our first go at it, you know, like we just fell into this. We weren't even anticipating it to turn into a business. So now we're here and we're like, okay, so like, how do we keep growing and how do we like, you know, scale and all these things? And there were so many points where we would feel like, are we doing enough? Oh my God, we should be doing more. Oh my God, are we on the right track? It would like eat us alive. And there were so many moments where we had to calm the ego mind down because that's the
100%.
ego. And we would have to be like, let's flow. That's the whole point. This is our brand, is to flow. So why would we not flow in the brand?
Yeah.
So every time we, even with the app, like there was a point where we weren't taking action or we thought we weren't for said months. And every time we took one small step, we come to a place where we're like, wow, we did everything at the most divine time. Everything was done exactly at the moment. If it was 1 second earlier or later, it would have not had the same effect. So we just trust in everything that we do and that every action we take is never too early or too late. It's always on time.
And I feel like that's super important for people to listen to and for me too. Like learn how to slow down, and that slowing down is okay.
Slowing down is okay.
I feel like people listen to like the word podcast and they just like listen me recording a microphone and uploading an audio, but when you realize that you can turn it into a whole business where you can make an app or a membership or a community of people and like make a whole business behind it, is like you kind of get obsessed with productivity. And you want to be doing something all the time. And then when you're not doing something, then you feel guilty about not doing enough. But it's like resting is okay.
That's the ego. That's
being
the
slow
ego.
is okay. Like taking time to get to where you want to be is okay. And that happens with a lot of things. Like we can just get so obsessed and so used to productivity that we just like don't want to stop it. But it's okay to like slow down.
I've always said that rest is a right, it's not a reward. And you deserve to rest. And what the beautiful thing about being productive,
and it's a need too,
for your own business, is that you start to see, I'm like, wow, I'm a really hardworking person. I've always been a hardworking person. Thank God I'm not working for somebody else. Thank God I'm doing it for me. You know, and my own freedom and my own ability. And, you know, and you forget what you do it for. One of my favorite things that I have like been thinking about lately, or that has come to me, is that everything has its timeline. Everything only has a very short period of timeline. Like 15-year-old you would have never thought that you were the woman that you are today. And she would be like, damn. I'm so proud of her. Same thing with us. And I just think that we're always looking for something bigger and always looking for something, as we should. We should constantly manifesting future timelines, but also just being so grateful for the ones that we're in, because once they're gone, we're going to look back and be like, wow, the good old days. Wow, we missed those times. Remember when we did this? Remember when it was difficult to do that? Remember those lessons that we learned? All are valuable. So appreciate your timelines. Appreciate where you're at in life, because you'll never get them again.
I love that. Going back to friendships and relationships, what would you say, you can say one each, but what is the key to a healthy friendship?
There's only one.
Go ahead.
It's just communication.
You think so? Because I've been doing content about this, and I always say like communication is like not the key for relationships. It's comprehension.
Okay, actually, like that's beautiful. It's because I can communicate all day, but if someone's not trying to comprehend what I'm saying, to comprehend
you, or listening from a place of ego, or even like trying to understand me, their communication doesn't mean anything without comprehension. But I do see how people would say, because there can't be comprehension without communication.
Right.
And that's true, but the key is really comprehension.
It is. I agree with that. And I find myself, because I feel like I'm a really strong communicator. Like I can tell when I'm in an ego-minded place. I can tell when the person I'm communicating is with an ego mind, and I will constantly be like, hey, like, let's calm down for a second, because right now you're not hearing anything I'm saying, and I'm not hearing anything you're saying. And a lot of the times I will repeat the same thing in many ways to whoever I'm communicating with if they're not hearing it, until they hear me, you know? And I'm realizing it's till they comprehend. That's what it is. In my last relationship, he would just like shut down so fast and like be, well, then I'm this, well, then I'm the worst, and well, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I would have to like reiterate and reiterate and reiterate until one way that I say it strikes him, and he's like, oh, and it brings him out of the ego. Oh, I didn't see it like that.
I did, yeah.
And I'm like, well, I've said it. Like, I told you that 17,000 times.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you hear me, you know? So I think patience is also huge for friendship and relationships in general, because a lot of the times when we don't have a lot of experience with communication, comprehension is not something that comes easily, right?
Yeah.
So once you get there, the person, like me, if I didn't have patience, I wouldn't have been able to get through a lot of things with different friendships or partners, because I can communicate and know what's right versus wrong. But if it wasn't the patience that I had to like sit through it and go through the motions with whoever I'm talking with, I wouldn't have been able to like get the message across effectively at the end of the day.
Can you define patience? Because I feel like patience can be understood as, I have to like put up with her. But I don't I define patience as I understand my point of view, but I understand that if we want to get somewhere, I have to be able to understand her side of the story.
Exactly.
So how would you kind of define it?
It's very, very much like that. Like, for example, like before when me and Nadine would have some what would you call it? Like little fights.
Yeah.
I know that Nadine and I had different lives, right? And like I'm a very intellectual, like heartfelt thinker, and you're more in your head, right?
Yeah.
And so it's easier for you to get like a little bit more hot-headed, where me, I just get very emotional and sensitive. So it was like there was never any point when we would be arguing where I would feel like, oh, like you're just like a bad person, or you have ill intent. It was always like, oh, but I know where she's at. I know what it feels like to be stuck in my head rather than being stuck here in my like the center point. And so I don't know. I just think that being able to see somebody for who they are and know their heart and their soul well makes you want to go through the motions with them. You know, even if it requires you to be patient. It's like I never felt like somebody's attacking me or somebody's like intentionally trying to hurt me. It's more just like our brains are in different places. We were raised differently. We grew up differently. We're molded differently. And we both want the same thing at the end of the day, to feel understood, heard, and safe. So I and the other person needs to just know that like sometimes we need to change our perspective a little and see it through the other person's eyes. It's really, I think.
What's interesting is the underlining understanding that what is the point at the end of all of this? Like, am I in this to hurt you?
Right.
Are you in this to hurt me?
And if the answer is yes, then
Yeah.
you have to work on yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Because why would you want to hurt your friend? You know? So ultimately, like the right answer should be, I don't want to hurt you. Let me just take a step back and breathe and like reflect with myself, and let's just, you know.
And sometimes that's the inner monologue that you have within the argument.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, do I care about this? Absolutely, I care about this person.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I doing? Calm it down.
For what?
Exactly. What am I gaining out of this?
Yeah.
You know, for what? Just to feel right? It doesn't work that way. Yeah. And I've said this multiple times on the podcast. Ani's taught me multiple times about my hot-headedness. She's taught me so much about communication, and I'll forever be grateful about that. It's not something I'm like worried about being open about. Before I had met Ani again and we reconnected and rekindled, I was in a really toxic relationship. So that will screw you up a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
It does.
It fucks you up bad, and it really just gets you to like be on your toes. And it's actually interesting. I always come up with this story is that Ani's dog, Georgie, was attacked in an elevator. So now every single time he goes in the elevator,
I know.
he gets freaked out, right? So I felt like, Georgie, anytime you put me in an elevator, you put me in a scenario where I'm triggered instantly. And it took me so long.
Or maybe you feel like she's gonna leave. You know,
something like that, you know. So my abandonment mood came out, my attachment wound, my inability to hold myself together, my inability to like, you know, well, before you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you, you know what I mean, type of thing. And so it's very abrasive, and it's not anywhere anybody wants to be. And I could speak truthfully from my heart, that is somewhere nobody wants to be.
It really
but
is.
it took one person. It took one person to genuinely be like, here's my hand, I'm gonna guide you the way, I see you for you.
That's exactly
Can
how
you help
it felt.
me out? Like, I'm going to help you out.
That's
And
exactly
that's a
how
friend.
it felt.
That's somebody who really cares about you because we've known each other since we were kids.
Exactly,
She knows who I
yeah.
am. But I was really in a situation where I was really in pain. I had just lost my father. I had just lost my relationship. I had no place to go. I had to move back in. There was so much going on in my life. Poor Nadine. You know what I mean? But I didn't stay a victim for that long because had I would not change who I was.
Yeah.
You know? But somebody saw me for who I was and helped me out.
And that was my next like kind of point that I want to talk about. And I was talking about this with my best friend the other day because we both been in relationships. I've been the type of, I'm a lover girl. So like when I'm in a relationship, I like fall in love like very deeply. And I feel like the biggest mistake that I made when I was in a relationship is feeling like he's the only person that I needed. And my best friend too. So my relationship ended before hers. And so when I ended my relationship, I just wanted a friend to be there for me. But she was still in her relationship. So
Right.
he was still the only person that she needed. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Now, like we're both single and we both grown and matured so much that we were talking about it. We were talking about it the other day, and I was like, I feel like the biggest mistake that people can make when getting into a relationship is feeling like he's the only person that you need and then forgetting about your friends.
Yeah.
And I have so many friends in relationships that literally cut all of their friends off because they feel like that is their person and that's the only person they need.
Yeah.
What would your advice be, and how much does it help to have a friend while being in a relationship and you know after, because your friends are the only ones that are going to be there for you? But
Yeah. I would say that the only way to understand to not put all of your eggs in one basket, not saying that the person can't be your person, but
and even if it is, you still need like
you both need to be on your own trajectory.
Yeah.
You guys are both on your own little boats, but you're headed on the same direction on this island. Okay, like you have your own set of skills, your own set of hobbies, your own set of life, your own set of friends, and you're still traveling, but you're traveling together in the same destination, and nothing could really go wrong there, you know? And I think that when people get like soaked up by the idea of being in a relationship and kind of like dust everything off, I'm at fault for that. I definitely do that. And I've noticed so much in my area of solitude of being single for like almost 2 years now, is that I didn't have enough of my own stuff to be in a relationship, really. I didn't have my own backing. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the thing I'm working on. I didn't have my passion. I didn't have my business. So it's very easy.
and sometimes
to
that's
get
why you
absorbed.
stay.
Yeah, you
because
get
you don't
absorbed in
have
somebody
like you
else.
don't feel like you belong anywhere else but to you.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's really good to figure out who you are first so well that even if you absolutely love something, you still love yourself just as much. You still love your passions just as much. You still love where you're going just as much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Me, I was in one relationship in my life since I was 17, and it was like 6 years.
Wow.
And
You know,
yeah,
it's a long one.
and it ended like maybe 5-6 months ago.
And how are you now?
Good. I was good when it ended too.
Okay.
But what's so interesting is that relationship felt like two completely different relationships. The first half, I didn't know who I was. I was very insecure, very lost, completely gave myself to this person, morphed with this person, forgot me, and felt so much heartbreak and pain from that. And I don't remember exactly what shifted in me, but something happened where I was like, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah.
And I decided to get to know myself, and it started with yoga, and then yoga turned into meditation, and meditation led me down this like long journey to self-discovery. And the minute that I started embarking on that, I discovered who I was. Who's Ani? What is she like? What makes her confident? What are the things? The minute I started discovering myself and taking action on what I wanted for me outside of my relationship, everything shifted. Then my partner, like, then it caused another thing. Like my partner felt like he was the alpha person, right? I'm always like, why don't you love me as much? Why don't you this? Why don't you that? He felt like here and I was here.
Right.
Then I shifted shit up and I came up
men don't
here.
like that.
And then he fell down here. And then it became like resentment, because I wanted to do all these things and build a following and do all these things. I was taking action. And as he was watching me do things that he also wanted to do, he started to see me in this different hierarchy system. And I think that's really where like the level of confidence and sense of self was born for me. And we had to end the relationship because he lost himself it like flipped.
Okay.
I lost myself in him, and then he lost himself with
in
me, and forgot about what he loved, forgot about his friends. He was always just like, I'm in her shadow. I want to be up to par with her. And, you know, it's almost like I took all the masculine energy and he was left with none of it. And so now, you know, I seek a better balance. Like I'm grateful for the whole experience, because I now will never give myself to somebody the way that I did before.
Right.
I couldn't. I love this too much. I love this feeling of knowing me way too much to ever lose that again. It's like, this is where everything stems from.
And it would be a dishonor to all of your growth, you know.
Absolutely.
It would be,
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you physically can't after a point once you realize who
yeah,
you are.
you can't. And you
can't go
just
back.
can't. You feel guilty.
Yeah. So now I'm grateful for that, you know, because even when I go on dates or when I talk to people, there will never be another day where I forget who I am. Like, my goals, my priorities, my friendships will always come first to me from now on, you know?
Yeah. This has been such a beautiful conversation, and thank you guys so much for driving here, for being here with me and sharing with me a little bit of your time. I want to close it off with a question that I ask everybody that comes on I Missed Me, and that is, what does healing mean to you guys?
I think finding yourself.
Yeah.
Finding yourself again. Because I think we're always born knowing who we are, and we lose it along the way. But I think really healing is just coming back.
Healing to me is seeing what the ugly is, accepting it, looking at it, and transforming it, transmuting it, and letting that be your superpower, and letting that be the focus on what you can do to make those attributes and those things about yourself into something that pushes you forward.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you guys so much again.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
At the InFlow Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, the InFlow Podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
All streaming platforms.
All streaming platforms.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Mafe everywhere. I Missed Me Podcast everywhere. And I also have a clothing brand at I Missed Me Project everywhere too. Thank you guys again. I love you guys. I will see you on our next episode. And don't forget that we're all strangers healing together. With love, Mafe.